How do you know if it's time for permanent weight loss? We all are born into this world to our families of origin. Your biological mother, your biological father, regardless of their presence in your life, their type of parenting, their type of support, but either way, you're born into this biological family and you are handed down, you were given, your little beautiful mind in its theta state was running around basically in a state of hypnosis, just observing and noticing, and your brain getting built with these little beautiful neural pathways and different ways to see the world and how you see relationships and how you see food and how you see vanity and beauty and how you see yourself and how you process your emotions or how you don't process your emotions and how you receive love and how you get rejected and how you, this is just the dynamics of what's happening, and it's just molding you into who you are today. And my experience is that there is a period of time in our lives where we are going through life, going through the motions, doing the job we think that we'll be good at and that we want to do, and getting into the relationships that we, just happen into because that's really fun and this is new and these new feelings and that kind of thing. And we end up with the friends that we have because we're wired the way we are and we're going to attract people that are like us based on our past programming. And then as you continue journeying, there will be areas where you don't really like what you're experiencing in whatever area of life. So you don't like what you're experiencing around food, body, and weight. You don't like what you're experiencing in your relationship dynamics, whether it's social or romantic. You don't like what you're experiencing with your career and the lack of fulfillment that you feel in that job. And that can be very painful and it can cause, a lot of upset, and it can also cause a lot of internalization, especially as women, to be kind of questioning and asking ourselves, what actually could be my piece of this, or what's wrong with me. As I'm doing this, I do want to check to make sure that my audio, I'm so excited about this podcast episode, and sometimes I have the wrong mic on, so let me just take a second. While I do this, please take this opportunity to join me over on the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss community group on Facebook. If you haven't already, yes, I think our audio is great. Because I've been recording podcasts live here. It was something that I used to do all the time, and then Zoom changed its settings, so it was a little less comfortable. But I think it's really important that you guys have FaceTime with me. So if you're loving the podcast, please head over, join me, comment on these podcast episodes that you're listening to. Engagement and conversation and connection is such an important part of transformation. So Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss community on Facebook, you just type it in the search bar, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss community. You'll answer a few questions. You'll get entered into the group. You actually immediately get my free training that I have if you text the word hypnosis to 1-855-232-5483. That will be there after you join. Just check the post. And then you'll have access to these live podcasts. So we'll meet over here. Good. Now that I know my audio is good, this is what happens. Yeah. So today we're talking about how to know that it's actually time for permanent weight loss. I just got off the phone with an amazing person who is getting ready to register into the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss program. And she said something amazing. I would just really acknowledge her for having done the work and being self-aware and noticing. And there's just so much we can learn from that. She recognized how I don't even think that 1 year ago I would be ready for what this work is now. That I had to go through different things I was going through and have different types of support to get myself to a space where I actually feel like I am ready to receive this. And I hear over and over again from clients for the last decade of, oh my gosh, I wish I found this program decades ago. My life would be so different. And I always bring to the attention of them that, consider that maybe a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have actually, your level of consciousness wouldn't actually have been ready to receive this higher consciousness style of work. And now is the perfect time. I also hear this all the time, and I heard it on my last call of, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. She said that she had definitely searched on podcasts before for a weight loss podcast, and this is the first time that this has shown up. But, having that faith, and that has been my experience over and over again. It just happened to me literally 2 weeks ago, where I had written down like what my next 90-day intentions were. I always kind of check in and feel into my heart of like, what actually do I want? And literally the next day, my next mentor appeared in my email inbox. She was doing a master class, not unlike the ones that I do. And I signed up for it immediately. I said yes to it. And I enrolled in her program because I really intuitively knew, and it always starts with you getting clarity for yourself on like, what do I actually want? So that's, some place you can start for yourself, like how you're ready. So, and it's, top of mind is like, I just want weight loss, but it's like, do I want to actually heal this at the root? Do I want the subconscious programming and rewiring aspect to this? Do I want to work on the subconscious level to why my relationship with food is the way that it is? And maybe you've done some work to understand why, past events, trauma, parenting, etc., like we talked about, but like, I want the tools, I want the deep dive to actually repattern and rewire the unconscious mind through all the things that I bring to the table inside of the program. And if that's you, then yay, then lock in, book a call, do what you need to do to like get that train moving. When I booked that to go to that masterclass and to hear, it's like, of course I knew she was, working on bringing people into whatever she was creating. And to be honest, she had it over several days, and I wasn't feeling necessarily like super pulled or super called. Like it wasn't like, the most paradigm shifting, days that I went to, but because of my relationship with my truth and myself, it was like, I still know that that this was what I wanted to create in the next 90 days. I still knew that this mentor, she actually had worked with a previous mentor of mine. And I was like, I just have this sense that this woman has something that I don't have yet, that is going to not only exponentially, support my results, but also the results of my clients. And it has 100% been the case. So, I teach in my NLP trainings, just around our buying strategies and our decision-making strategies, because it's all in the unconscious mind. We all have a strategy for how we do everything in life. And once we're aware of the fact that is, so it's like if someone, is selling something to you and it's just not speaking to you, or it doesn't feel perfect to you, or it doesn't sound like exactly what you're, going for. And like it happened to me in this masterclass, there's still like a level that you can go above it and be like, but I want to make sure that like I get what I'm looking for. This woman I talked to before, she knew exactly how much time at least she wanted to work with me. She knew exactly her style of how she tends to work best, right? Like she is being the CEO of her decision making and like make this happen, right? She already has the faith. She knows that I'm the right mentor for her. All that. And then it's just like, you can make things. Yeah. So for myself, it was like, I made it, I asked the questions, I kept showing up, I was noticing, but it was like at the end of the day, like I'm choosing, and I'm so freaking glad that I did. So yes, can be helpful for yourselves as far as, am I ready to do that deep dive, like this like different way of manifesting weight loss, if you will, or producing that kind of result that doesn't require restriction. It doesn't require rules. It doesn't require, shoulds and have tos and plans and right. Like, do I want to actually have this come from a whole different empowered energy, that, comes as a result of me actually tackling and right, working with my unconscious mind. And if that's the case, yes, like this is what we're up to here. And I'm continuing to be so excited as my current clients are getting the upgrade of what I'm receiving right now for their results as well. So the evolution, okay, so, then you start bumping up against areas of life that you're not, super happy about. It can cause internalization, questioning of self. It could, right, all of this kind of stuff. And that is something that breaks my heart. I'm actually going through this, or I should say, like, walking side by side with a really, really dear friend of mine. And I'm seeing how her past programming and her still having opportunities to strengthen her emotional mastery and her consciousness around things, as well as that how that is causing her to self-doubt, to question herself, to act in ways that are really not in alignment, with who she actually is, who is like an extraordinary woman and like super smart and super kind and super loving and like deserves everything and anything in the world. And again, I believe, I have faith that we go through different hard, sometimes, seasons in our lives because it forces us to go deeper. And sometimes those hard seasons or those, major life events will lead you to search for a podcast like this. And I really have faith that that's all meant to be as well. The amount of times that people say, like, like when the teachers, when the students write, the teacher appears, and like, I believe it's, on purpose that I found you, is like unbelievable. And again, that's been my experience. So, honoring what season that you've been in. So of like, there can be the time, in this terms and relationship. And by the way, probably going to add a specific ad to the podcast by the time this comes out, but I just, again, I'm going deep into meditation and like thought work and like subconscious reprogramming for myself right now. And I just feel called specifically for like a 1 to 2 women only that want private coaching for a relationship. This is what I've been, walking with my friend around. And I have another friend I'm going to have her on the podcast pretty soon who, she was open to receiving my coaching and support as she took on dating. She's a smart woman, professional woman. And sometimes, because of our programming that we were born into with relationships, we weren't set up for success. I know I was not. I was not set up for success when it came to relationship, especially romantic relationship. And now she has a really awesome, successful, healthy relationship. And it was something that would not have been able to be created if she did not say yes to my coaching, be willing to get out of her comfort zone, and stay positive as she went through the process. Like, it does take something because it feels completely different than what you've done before. But that's actually a good sign because you've never been able to create what you actually really want. So that means you're going to have to do something totally different in order to get that result. So anyway, if that speaks to you, please book a call. Make sure that you mention on the form that you fill out that you're applying to get privately coached by me. This would be something separate. There still will be food, body, and weight things, because I know a lot of people I talk to will be like, oh, first I need to lose weight before I can be attractive enough to call in my partner. Or, this also can not only just be for if you're looking to create a relationship, but if you want to create a healthy relationship with the partnership you're already in, with your current husband, your current boyfriend. I just personally feel called from that place of inspiration now that I'm just letting go of and just trusting, what feels exciting and amazing and aligned to me, that there are women out there right now who want that kind of high level support when it comes to navigating a relationship. And like I said, if there are food, body, and weight things that also need to be sorted out as you're stepping into this, absolutely can support you through that as well. But want people to get to experience love. That's been one of my most exciting things that I also had to turn myself inside out and backwards for after having a couple different relationships that were really not healthy to what there is now. And I know it's possible for any woman, as long as you're coachable, willing to get out of your comfort zone, and focusing on what you want, staying positive as you go through the journey. So a little thing, and sorry if you get 2 ads for that, because I probably will be adding in another one to the podcast. If you're watching this live, you can comment apply below, and just check your Facebook Messenger. Sometimes I send a Facebook message to people and you don't get it because you have to, it goes in like a different box if we're not friends. So just, look out for a message from me, and I'll ask you a few questions and see if we could be a right fit, if we could actually, help you get love in 2026, because that's amazing. And when you have like a supportive, unconditionally loving relationship that's healthy, it doesn't do anything but good things for your health. So all part of it. Want that for you if you want that. And yes. So, so if you've studied different things with consciousness, there can be, people talk about how you can have like karmic relationships prior to, who is actually a good fit for you. Now, tying that in with weight loss, you can also look at it as being like, oh, wow, that diet or that plan or that thing that I followed was also karmic. As far as, the way that I look at it in my mind, like when I followed that program that was derived from a food addiction program, I now look at it as like a kind of like an abusive relationship. Because what it was wiring my brain to do was to think disempowering thoughts about myself, what I was capable of. Like, they had you say mantras like, my brain is broken. They had you, every time you saw a body out in the world that was bigger, they had you say out loud, thank you, God, that's not my body. And it did rewire my brain, but because it was in a disempowering place. So coaching comes from the place of every single human is perfect, whole, and complete. And it's our job to give you whatever tools, whatever subconscious rewiring, stuff that you need to remember that you are perfect, whole, and complete. And so the reason that didn't work long term, and consider that every diet that you've done that hasn't worked long term, is because it's continuing to facilitate the lies that you have about yourself, that you have no self-control, you're a food addict, your metabolism is slow, you can't lose weight after age 40, right? Like all the, whatever the thing is. And so it can't work, because you are a perfect, beautiful being of light and love, and anything is possible for you. So you gotta kind of, right, flip things on its head and do something totally different to produce a different result that actually lasts, because it's built on empowerment, it's built on truth, it's built on love, and that is the only energy that is true in this whole universe, which is very exciting. So anyway, going back to it, so it's like, how do I know that I'm ready for this journey, right? The Fast Track to Freedom program, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, working with me as your coach is, you have done those diets before that you could look as being like maybe karmic lessons. Like there was a lot of things that you learned from losing weight in that like highly restrictive or, it's just accountability and discipline type of way. But it didn't last. And there is some part of you that knows that something about it is no longer doing it for you anymore. And that there's something missing that's a little bit more, right? And underneath the surface as to why this has been an ongoing issue, for you for your whole life. And you may have some, right, idea of what that could be. Woman I spoke to a little bit earlier, has the awareness of the past, right? Kids and bullying, or right, making fun of, and different traumas and different challenges and different, right? And that's great level awareness to have. And, what is the key that's going to turn the entire thing in a place that you have not been able to see? Because awareness alone is not enough to heal this. You have to take action outside of your comfort zone. You have to do something a whole different way. And it can be fun and exciting to get that, because then there's just so much freedom, right, on the other side. So people will come to me as they're transitioning out of those karmic type of situations. And a lot of times, there can be still things just of how that wiring from parenting, how emotions were dealt with, past, traumas, different things like that, whether they're huge traumas or little traumas, and just the beliefs and the awareness and how to, change that thinking around. And then the idea is once we actually support you in kind of like seeing that karmic stuff, seeing those old wounds, seeing the negative, right, stories and beliefs about yourself that really are causing the whole thing. And we give you the stuff to kind of get to this space of like peace and stability and like, okay, like this is where I'm at. I'm proud of myself for getting here. Well, then it also gets really exciting because now we actually get to be like, I want to design what beliefs, what thoughts, what energy, what habits are going on in my mind that's going to produce the result that I want. And that is an awesome, very exciting place to be. And, I'm sure everybody would love to just jump to that. Like, I want to, design my own life and design my own whatever. And yes, you can do that. And there also does need to be whatever amount of work, that can still be fun and can still be very eye-opening. It can be challenging at times, but my style is just very like getting so curious and like zero judgment on like anything that you still do or don't do, whether it's, I had clients in the past that were like, she called it drive-by eating, like eating too quick on the, off the counter, still eating at bedtime, still numbing out in any way, shape or form, right? Using food, mindless eating, eating in front of the TV, right? Any of those types of habits, all the way to like more extreme of, hiding food, hiding wrappers, going through the drive-through after you said you wouldn't, eating after the kids or your husband goes to bed in kind of more of a sneaky way, like, all of that stuff, right, is part of this as well. And it's, it doesn't mean anything, like you're broken or you're not capable or like, actually, no, it's just, we just got to give you what you need to like see it in a different way, heal through it. So you can get to that space of like life, health, body design, relationship design. There's a graduation, if you will, outside of how you were born into and how you see the world and your thoughts and programming into like, oh wow, I know who I am, I know how to rewire my mind, and now I can make it anything that I want as long as I'm receiving the coaching and open to the feedback and like continuing on that forever lifelong learning journey, because it can always be the next level. And that's really good news. And I can say, from personal experience, like it just gets better and better. It gets better and better and better. And I could, scream from the hilltops how good it gets. And I'm just, continuously excited about working with those people who are ready, who just feel that call to do the real work and to, have the level of consciousness to know about like, oh, I can see how my parenting and background and whatever led me to be this way that I am. And I'm curious, I would love to know who my authentic self is. Like, how do I want to eat? And how do I want to drink? And how do I want to move my body? And how do I want to, right? Like, what kind of relationships do I want to have? And how do I want to have fun? And how do I want to, I remember specifically in that karmic, right, food addiction program that I was in, like having this thing while I was in it and like into it and swore it was the thing for me, that like, it was like, Eureka, I finally figured out how to eat the way that my mom eats. Like this, like, because I was eating the way that my mom ate. And to me, it was like my mom, you know, she always maintained like a very lean body, and she was very consistent with her workouts. And it was always like, you know, and she also, because of her past, and she had some bullying and stuff like that, like there was some judgment on me, right? That made me feel like I should be more like her. So it was like, oh my gosh, I found it. But like, you are not your mom. And that's what I had to realize, was like, do you have the exact same genes as your mom? Do you have the exact same goals as your mom? Are you doing the exact same job as your mom? Do you have the exact same lifestyle as your mom? Like, yeah. And, you know, for some of you, I also know that it's like been anti-mom, of like, in order for me to not be mom, I need to do everything that's not mom. But consider that's also part of the problem. You're still in that karmic kind of lock. And, yeah, it wasn't until I actually was like, no, you know, like, I'm not mom. I'm not this, like, this plan is not actually me, you know, like, this is not who I am in the world, is someone who wants to experience all the things, like, have fun, have really meaningful connections, like, continuous personal and professional development, because it's the most exciting thing in the world to me. Like, and so therefore, like, me never having sugar, or me never having flour, or me like being so structured and restricted and disciplined was like a complete against who I actually am. And my full belief is that you cannot push against truth. Like, you can do it short term. Like, I always use the metaphor of like, it's like pushing a beach ball underneath the water and expecting yourself to be able to hold it under the water forever. Like, eventually you get exhausted from trying to be what you're not. Abraham Hicks talks about going downstream, and that the sooner that you surrender and actually just allow things to be as they are, versus pushing upstream and trying to make things happen. And this is the space where I see women really, 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 really get stuck, both with their attempts for weight loss, because every way that they've been doing it has been like, I need to work hard and I need to make it happen, and I need to prove that I'm capable and able to do that. Well, you've already done that. Like, you've proven it. How many times have you proven it? But also, how many times has it not lasted? How many times are you going to keep trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Like, it just doesn't work. It's going against the laws of the universe and how energy actually works. And so there is a bit of that, you know, trust fall involved, and the surrender that's involved for transformation. But I'm telling you, like, once you do that, oh, it's lovely. Not to say that it doesn't come with challenges, right? As you're having to pave new neural pathways, but that's why we get support. That's why we get coaching, so we can actually enjoy the ride as much as possible, and also not be alone on the journey, and keep having someone who's walked that journey be able to keep showing and shining the light of like, it gets better and better. Like, just keep doing what I say I'm doing. Going back to the relationship example, yeah, my friend, there was different things where she ran into, and I was just like, and she was just like, no, I'm good, you know, like, I really feel, and I was just like, I was like, you gotta still do that. Like, you gotta do that. Like, I hear you, but like, you know, and it was different because she's a friend of mine, so she wasn't actually paying me for coaching. And I made sure, I'm so good about boundaries, that like, I had her full permission to coach her, even though I was her friend. I can't wait till she comes on here, like, our journey, and it's just like moving over many years of just transformation and us being on that journey. And she did. She felt the resistance. She did it anyway. And she still, you know, to this day, you know, months later, is saying like, thank God you continued to push me. And I also say and give her credit, like, thank God you are coachable and said yes, you know, because not everybody is. So it does require, you know, that level of trust and pushing through to get a whole different experience. And yeah, on the other side, just looking at, what do you want? This woman I spoke to earlier is like, looking at her next decade, like, what's this decade about? And for her, it was like, I want to like see myself creating from me choosing what thoughts, me choosing what experiences and types of relationships and things that I want to do. And the communication coaching, both, how to communicate with your husband or to your potential right person, how to communicate to your kids, how to lead any teams that you lead, or how to speak to your boss. Like, these are all different things that, are part of what comes up during the coaching, because, that's part of breaking the old programming. That's going to allow you to step into that new self-esteem, that new confident aspect of yourself, and to not have to ruminate about conversations that didn't go well, and have less energy because you're not dealing with something powerfully, and getting how to actually like use this and move through it and like step into that. I remember the last coach that I hired, I was noticing that I was going through a stressful time, and I was bringing a lot of that stress into my relationship, right? Because it can be like so just like the default mode of like, this is who's there, they're my person. Like, it's not that they can't handle it. He's like the best, like he holds space, like all that kind of stuff. But I also really want to like give him as much space that he needs to like be on his journey and like go and provide and right do all the things that's on his path. Like, I don't want to take up your mental real estate with stuff that's mine. And so that was a huge reason for me to hire a coach. And as soon as I did, and like I brought, I had to repattern myself to go to the coach instead of go to him, because we get into bad habits to go to people that aren't necessarily the right people. And that coach was able to just like turn me right around, get me thinking at a higher level, and like stress and anxiety gone immediately. And I noticed almost immediately that our connection, our love, like got so much more expansive, because I took ownership over making sure that hole in my life was right, remedied, provided for, in my own lane. So there's just nothing like, my clients will come onto calls, and it's normal and natural as you're healing through, right, this past programming and getting to a space where you're free from this, that there's going to be, right, disempowered states and feeling like, it's not working, or like you're failing, like it wouldn't be transformation if you didn't have that come up. But every single time after they leave a call with me, they are empowered, they know their next steps, they are remembering who they are. And it's like, for me, on every aspect of my life, on my relational health, on my financial health, on my spiritual health, on my physical health, on whatever emotional health, like all of it matters. And just having that investment in my corner of a place to go to like get myself right again, right? Remembering again who I am and what I'm capable of, and like back into that state of love and faith and trust and knowing. There is no price tag on that. Like, that is like, that allows for love to flourish, that allows for relationships to grow, that allows for me to be a better service to my clients, that allows new ideas and right, new energy to come in to go and right, get more active and meditate more, or whatever it is. It's just huge. And yeah, so a major part of knowing if you're ready is, just taking that radical ownership of like, what is me not getting support in this area? How is that affecting my marriage? How is that affecting my work? How is that affecting my health? And what type of support feels right for me, right? Does it feel right for me to go, and do Weight Watchers? Like, if it actually does, and it like really makes you feel light and like you're excited to do it and you can't wait to get back into those meetings, like, please, right, go and get that support for yourself. And if it's like, but then if you've right, gone back to something that you did before, like Weight Watchers, you've done it a bunch of times, you just feel like that energy isn't there anymore. And like you can do it for like a week, but then you kind of like lose it, and then you feel disempowered again. Like, that is a telltale sign that that is no longer aligned for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you consider that your soul has already gotten all the lessons that it needed to get from that container. And so that's why you're not into it anymore. So it's like your job, right, is to recognize that, hey, there's an area of my life that's out, right, that feels stressful. Okay, now let me just go to town discovering what is the right support system, right, for where I'm at now and what's going to actually give me that experience of heart expansion and, right, like, oh my gosh, I'm excited to learn what I haven't seen yet about, how my past programming, how my emotions, how my relationships are actually impacting my ability to get free. And if that speaks to you, that's what this is. But that's how you know. And then you go the same way that I did, and right, you sign up, you get into, right, have a call or come to any event that I do. I know my client Michelle, who was on a couple episodes ago, said that, like, come to whatever you can come to, get any free resource, listen to the podcast that you can go to, and just take that action for yourself and get the support. It's just so necessary. It's just how it works, and that's how you know. And if that's speaking to you, then I hope that this is helpful for you. So good. Thank you for being a listener. Would you please take a moment, if you are getting value from this podcast? I would so appreciate a review, a rating and a review of the podcast. You can do that on Apple Podcasts. Also, if you look up Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss on Google, and able to leave a review there if you've been a client, or right, whatever you can do in that regard. It makes not only a difference for me, as a coach for the last 12 years, to just, all of us like some affirmation, because you can't help everyone and not everyone's ready to hear, your message at different times. But I can't tell you how much it just gives me the energy and juice to hear and to get that feedback. But it also, I know for myself, if I'm looking around for the right support, those reviews really make a difference for me. If I see that somebody else gave a really good review of something, I am 10 times more likely going to book the call, say yes to that thing. So it's just such an act of service to other people if you truly believe that, this kind of conversation, this type of support is helpful to you. So thank you. Please share this episode at the group or whatever. It just makes such a difference for people. I read something recently, people talk about generosity all the time. And I think so often, at least for me, when I hear generosity, it's financial generosity. And I do give generously financially, but what really helped me also was to hear about other ways they can be generous. You can be generous just by choosing to smile at people as you walk down the street at them, say hello. That's generosity. Another way of showing generosity is to say, hey, I was thinking about you based on what you said, and I think this podcast can make a difference. There was one other way of generosity that I thought was just so, just in general, just an act of service is generosity. So who can you be generous with today? And watch how that brings yourself alive when they're appreciating, just who you are and who you get to be for people, just with one small act. So love you so much. Thank you for being a listener, and we'll see you for the next episode.
Ready to finally break free from the diet hamster wheel and create lasting transformation? I've put together a free hypnosis training just for you, where I break down why diets keep failing, the mindset shifts you need to stop the cycle, and how to rewire your subconscious for true effortless change. Text the word hypnosis to 1-855-232-5483, and I'll send it to you instantly. You don't have to keep struggling. Real freedom starts now. Take the first step. Text the word hypnosis to 1-855-232-5483.